Okay, so in the second video we are going to look at the lid of the toolbox. Okay, so here is a picture of the lid. So we're going to start off with the overall shape, then we're going to add in the detail around the handle, and then we'll add in the cutouts on the top for separate compartments. Then we'll look at the hinges, and then we'll look at the catch details on the front. Okay, so we will start with our Solidworks. So we will go File, New, and we'll open up Part. Okay, so we're starting with a brand new part. And again, the same as before, you have your three planes here, which we're going to start drawing on. So the first thing that we're going to start with most files, is we start with extrude boss base. Okay, so we're going to extrude that, and we're going to do it on the top plane as we look down at it. Okay, so it flicks us straight into the 2D mode because it's our very first drawing, our very first sketch. So we'll start with center rectangle, just as before. We draw it up and click for the corners. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is dimension this guy up. So we've already defined it by center. So we're going to click on Smart Dimension. We'll click on the top length, or the width, if you will. So the width of that guy is 302 millimeters. Oh, 302. And hit enter to accept that. And we will go with a height of 145 millimeters. And hit return to accept that. Okay, so we just got a rectangle of those dimensions. We exit that sketch, and we will draw this guy up 12 mil. Press accept, and now we will accept that drawing. Okay, so now we have a slim rectangle of those dimensions. So the next thing that we're going to do is we will fillet that guy. The fillets that we're going to add this time are 18 mil. If you remember, the last ones were 16, but we're going to have a 2 mil wall thickness on this guy, which brings it up to 18. Oops. Selected a face I didn't want, just click on it to deselect it. And we press OK. Okay, so that is the start of this guy. Now, the next thing that we're going to add in, as I mentioned before, is the handle detail that's on the top here. So if we just sort of flick the picture, we're going to start off with this protrusion that sticks out of the top. If we go back to our Solidworks, we're going to put that in here on the top. Okay, so we're going to start that handle detail, an extrude boss base off this top plane, flick it into normal 2. Now, what we're going to do this time is we're just going to add in a line of symmetry, because I don't want to use this center point as such, but I do want a reference of it. So just come up here, make sure that you're on the vertical, and click. Okay, and now we will just add in a rectangle, so make sure that now you're on this line, and we will use that guy now as the crux of our extrusion. So we're going to make the width of that guy 138, and press return. And we're going to make it 80 and hit return. Now, so we're going to make from the top of that to the top of the protrusion 12, Right, so that's fully defined our rectangle. So the next thing we're going to do is add in the detail in the middle of this rectangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down, over, and back up again. Okay, and now we're going to define them paths as that there is going to be sorry, I'm going to define that as 10. Okay, I'm going to make that 10 as well. I'm going to make this 12. And I'm going to make this guy 15. Okay, so now I'm happy enough with the shape of that. What I want to do now is I'm going to reflect these through this plane. So I'm going to use my mirror entities command. First thing it looks for is the entities to mirror. Okay, so we select our entities to mirror. So we click and drag. So click, hold, drag over those 3 lines and accept. So change now to mirror about. Click this and accept. Okay, so you've got that now both sides. Now the next thing we're going to do is just add in that little arc at the top of this feature. So there's an arc here. We're going to add that in. So just throw in your arc first. Make sure that you get the 2 points on those 2 verticals. Apart from that, it doesn't really matter because we're going to add it in now, or we're going to sort it right now. So what we're going to do this time is we're not going to give a radius to this arc. What we're going to do is we're going to take midpoint. So hover over it for a second, click on it. I click on this point here. Now it's quite tricky here to get the right dimension that you're looking for. As you can see, as I'm coming around the area, it's changing what dimension it's offering me. But if you come out to the right, straight across, it will give you the dimension we're looking for. We're looking for that vertical dimension. So if we give it 5 and we accept that, that is what we're after, okay? So give or take now, that's the shape that we're looking for. Just the last thing that we need to do is we need to trim out this line here. So if you go over to trim, if you click, hold and drag over the line that you're trying to get rid of, okay, that's getting rid of one half of it. Do the same again, click, hold, drag, get over the second half of it. Now you'll see that it's left the blue area shaded that we want. Okay, so we will exit sketch and we will draw up that feature and we will give it a dimension of 7 mil. Press return to get the 7. Oops, not A. Press return. We will accept that, and that gives us something that looks like this. Okay. So the next bit that we're going to add, if we check our picture, is we're just going to add in this little flat cutout up here, and that one is very straightforward. So what we're going to do is we're going to extrude cut this time. So there's an indentation. We'll draw on that face, and we will go back, and what we're going to do is we're just going to convert entities, and we're just going to take this, 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 and this. Okay, so we have those 7 elements, and we press accept, and that's us. And now we're just going to join up those 7 elements, and it will give us a shaded blue section. Okay, so I'm going to escape to finish my line, and I exit sketch. And we're going to draw that down the way 2 mil. So we go 2 mil down, and we accept that, and that has given us the indentation that we're looking for. Okay, so the next one is another indentation, and if we just flip back to the picture again, it's just this detail now for the handle. Okay, so if we go back to our drawing, so what we're going to do this time is we are once again going to extrude cut. This time we're going to draw on this face, so when we get that face highlighted, click on it and we put it into normal view. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to use this arc that we created before. We're going to go offset. We're going to pick that arc that we have chosen. We're going to offset it about 22 mil. Okay. And so we accept that. We're going to convert some elements now onto the sketch that we require. So we're going to convert this line, very much the same as we've done before actually. Okay, so once we have all those elements, we accept, and they're imported into the sketch. Actually, now that I look at this, I'm going to change this to 25. I think it would be a better dimension, or a better measurement. Yeah, that's better. Now, what I'm going to do is I now need to extend these lines out to meet these guys. Similar to what we've done before with trim entities, except for if you click on the arrow underneath it, there's extend entities. Click that guy, click that guy, and now we'll trim them off to make our enclosed shape. So click, drag, hold, and now this is our blue shaded area. Okay, so we exit that, and we're going to go down a distance of 4 mil with this one. 4 mil, and we accept that. Okay, so that now is quite close to the detail that we require in here. And let me just round off these two corners at the top. Oops. Let me do that. So we're going to round off those guys at the top using a fillet, and I will make that fillet. Let's try 10. Let's try 8 actually. Go 6. Yeah, we'll go with 6. I think 6 looks the most sensible. We will accept that. That looks good. So that is pretty much the detail around the handle done. Later on we'll have to do little cutouts here for the handle to actually slot into, but we'll worry about that later on. Okay, so now we're going to draw on the compartment detail that is just here. So we're going to draw on this compartment detail. So you'll notice that it's got a U shape, and then these compartments cut in half on the long side, and these compartments cut in half on the short side. Okay, so what we're going to do is back to our Solidworks. This time what we're going to do is we're going to try and draw it in using the thin feature. Okay, so it starts out live as a boss extrude base, and we will put it into 2D mode, make life easier for us. We're just going to rough it in first, so we start out with the U shape that we talked about, and as I say, just rough it in first, and we're going to tidy it up then afterwards. Okay, which is the same as we've done in the past. So first, press escape now to finish off the line command. And now, first thing that we're going to do is hold shift, select these two guys, make them equal. So those two guys now are equal in length. And we also want them to be collinear, as in they're in the same plane. See that perforated line now has appeared. We want so we can escape out that for a second. We want the midpoint of this line to be vertical, with the origin. Okay, so now that means that it's bang smack in the middle. What else do we want? That looks okay for now. We can start dimensioning, I think. Yep. So this guy is 15 mil from the top, and is 15 mil. Oops. I just dropped there a dimension that I don't want. So click here and delete. That looks okay so far. So length of this guy, so click on him and make him 146. Okay. The width of this guy is 56, and this guy is 23. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to split up these compartments. So if we just flick back to the thing, this guy comes all the way over, then the short line here is cut in half to create this guy, and the long line here is cut in half to create this guy. Okay, so if we flick back to here, we continue this line over, create a compartment down here. We're going to press escape to finish off this line, and we just pick it again, and it's the short line here that is split in half, so we just go up till we find the midpoint, click on it, and come straight across till we get this line, and we press escape to finish the line. Go over here to this line again, and next time it's the long side that is split in half, so we just hover over till we find the midpoint, and we come straight across there, and we click. Okay, and that is pretty much the configuration that we're looking for. Something here that is stopping that from just click on horizontal. That should fully define that. Yeah, there's a few things that is keeping that from fully defining. Okay, so that looks okay now. So if we exit the sketch now, first thing that we want to do is we see it's not creating any 3D pattern yet. So the first thing that we want to do is turn on thin feature. Okay, and a wall thickness of 1.5 mm.
Once you have thin feature turned on,
thin feature.
And here to
Second thing we want to do
mid
is
plane.
go up now. We want to use this
Click on one direction, make it mid plane,
You can see now
and
that we're starting.
now we're going to select
Click on.
contours. We're going to select the outside first, Now it's like this guy, and this guy, and this guy.
That looks this
And
looks
we accept. Okay. So that now is our pattern drawn in.
Alright.
The next step is an easy one. What we're going to do is we've only created the
No, this has gone a little bit wrong.
lip detail first. And that's all we've created so far. We now want to create the actual indentations. So what we're going to do is we're going to extrude cut.
These to see.
We're going to draw on any of these faces. Just pick one. So we're going to draw on that one. And what we're going to do is we're going to convert entities. And we're just going to go around and we're going to select each of those faces. Press accept and exit sketch. What we're going to do is we're going to draw them down.
We'll just make these in two separate extrusions. So we'll accept that. Let's give us some of the lines.
Actually, let's draw them down 10 mil.
Come down here.
No,
Let's
let's
turn
do
on our
it.
sketch. So to turn on a sketch that's already been
now
absorbed
you
by a
have
feature,
little
just
compartments
click on the
there
sketch and go show sketch.
for all
This will bring back the
screws
sketch
and
that's
stuff
created.
created.
So I'm just going to do extrude boss base again. This time instead of picking a plane, I'm going to pick the sketch, and I just want to pick.
Okay, so now I'm going to create the details. I'm just going to create each of these lines. Okay. So if we look at the back of this toolbox lid, we're going to draw in our
I'm just going to
extrude
start
boss
the
face.
feature again. So I've deleted the
We're
feature,
gonna
put it left behind the
start.
sketch.
Putting the
So when you
straight
extrude
element
boss
of each
face,
hinges in. Okay.
we're going to use
So I'm just going to start with the
sketch.
straight element.
And what I'll do is actually going to
and
just start
we're
with
going to come
the-
around.
2 on the left, and we'll just reflect them across. Up the one in the middle as well, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to use our corner to corner rectangle. I'm just going to put in the rectangle here, and again I'm just going to rough them very much in, and we'll tidy them up at a later date.
Okay. So the first thing is I'm going to pick these three parts here. So I have them placed very randomly. I haven't picked any lines yet. So I'm going to pick these three guys first, and I'm going to tell them to be equal and collinear, so that they're all in a straight line. See that perforated line there? That's what the collinear line does. Okay. So they're equal and collinear. Now I want them to be 2 mil above this line, so I'm going to put 2 mil there. I want them to be 15 mil wide, so make one of them 15 because they're all equal, they all move. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to use the midpoint to dimension these guys out. So just hover over the midpoint for a second, click on it, come to the edge of this guy, and make that 27. Click this and the same, the midpoint. Or no, actually, I'm going to escape out of that to stop doing that dimension. I'm actually going to go from midpoint to midpoint actually. And make that 22. Okay. So we got something that looks like this. And what I'm going to do with this last one is again hover over the midpoint, click on it, but this time I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to zoom right in. I'm going to hold shift and click the origin and make them vertical. Okay. And now what I'm going to do lastly is just give this dimension of 8 mil. Now, you see now that these have not moved accordingly, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this line, click on it, hold shift, click the other two ones, and again just make them collinear. The other thing I could have done is make these guys equal, but collinear does the same thing. Okay, so that's that all defined up now, so that looks good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to draw in a center line from the origin up, and I'm just going to mirror entities, click on these guys, mirror around, click this. I'm going to accept that now, so those guys are over there. I'm going to escape out of that, or exit out of that sketch, I mean, and I'm just going to make it a depth of 2 millimeters. And I'm going to accept that. Okay. So this is the start of our hinge detail. It's quite crude at the minute, but we're going to tidy it up in due course. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is add the rounds to each of these extrude cuts, or each of these hinge details. So I'm going to start with the first one, and then I'm just going to copy the sketch along. So I'm drawing on the face, that face of that sketch, or that face of that extrusion. I'm popping the 2D view. And what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to will I use an arc? No, I was going to use an arc, but I will actually use a full circle. I'm just going to come across like so. I'm just going to come across, and I'm just going to draw in 2 rough circles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give that a dimension of 4. No, dimension of 2. And that is perfect. I'm going to give this and this a distance of 2 as well. So now that is the start of my hinge detail. Just chosen a line. I'm just going to come straight across here. I'm going to go straight across. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use my trim, cut all of that out, cut out this little bit in the middle. So I'm left with just this segment around here, and that's what's going to catch the bar on the other half of the toolbox. Okay, so you'll see that I've got something that looks like this, and when I go to extrude it, and I'm going to go up to surface, and I'm going to take it over to here, and I accept that. Now I have to do the same to each one of these guys, but it's going to be much easier, because what we're going to do now is we're going to draw on that surface, and all I'm going to do is convert entities, pick that face, press OK, and exit that sketch, and just come over and go up to surface, and pick that surface, and press OK. So you just do that every time. So you extrude boss base, you click on the side of the extrusion, you click on convert entities, you click on that face, you press accept to convert the entities, it comes onto that sketch, you exit that sketch, and you draw up to surface, and you bring it to there. So you nearly have them all 3 of them done now, or all 4 or 5 of them done. Extrude boss base, click on that face, convert entities, convert that face, accept, exit sketch, up to surface, and accept. Extrude boss base, on surface, convert entities, click this case, and up the surface and accept. Okay. Right. So now that's starting to look a little bit more like the hinge detail in real life. The next thing that we've got to do is just add a little cut here. You can't really, no, you can't see the photo at all. So I will let's go back to the thing. What happens is we cut down into it and then we create a little horizontal which catches the actual bar. So what I'll do is I'll draw it in, and once it's drawn in I think it'll be a little bit more clearer what we're trying to do or how these hinge details actually work. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an extruded cut. We're going to do an extruded cut on this face. So it's that face of the hinge is where the extruded cut is going to be. So I'll flick it into 2D mode, and I am going to use what will I use? I'll use center line rectangle. Click on the midpoint of that line and come out till you get this line here. I'm going to do the same here. Use your center point rectangle, click on the midpoint of that line, make sure you get this line and accept, and do the same here. What we'll do is we will just mirror it across to get the last two. Okay, so what we want to do now is pick these three lines, make them equal. Now that they're equal, all we have to do is dimension 1. So if you give that a dimension of 3 mil and accept, they all become the same. Okay. So I'm happy enough with that, so I just want to mirror the last two over. So if I go now and draw a center line from the origin, that's my center line, escape, finish it, go to more entities, pick these guys, mirror about this line, and accept. Makes a sketch. And now what I want to do is for direction 1 go through all, but for direction 2 make it blind, give it a dimension of 2. No, actually make it blind and make it a dimension of 1. Because the little bar on the toolbox that we're trying to catch is 2 mil. So that looks okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come along and just draw a little catch detail. So again, it's going to be an extruded boss base. Draw a catch detail on that face. Draw it in like so. So what we're going to do is get your center rectangle again. Begin with that midpoint of that line, come up till you get that guy,
and we're just going to pretty much do that for everyone. So get the midpoint here, take it up so you get the corner, and accept. So you're going to do that the whole way along. Midpoint, corner, midpoint, corner, and midpoint and corner. You exit out of that sketch, flick it into 3D to see what's happening. Okay, so I'm happy enough with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the side that it's extruded from. So it was above the sketch plane, I want it below the sketch plane. So that's where I want my new little feature to come from. So I'm going to accept that, and that is pretty much the crux of the hinge now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in the finer points to refine this out a little bit. So what I want to do is I just want to round off these guys a little bit. So what happens is you try and snap the bar in this here, so it needs a round to let the bar in a little bit easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to round, and we're just going to make that round 1 mil, or actually we'll make it 0.5 mil actually, even smaller again. We're just going to come along and just round off that guy, which, as I say, it's going to let the bar in that little bit easier. Do you know what, actually, I want to do these faces as well. That'll tidy all that up. As I say, it just means that all that will behave a little bit better. You'll see how they come together much better in the assembly anyways later on. Just do that to each one of the hinges. Okay, that looks okay now. So we accept that, and that has just rounded all them off. Makes it look a little bit more refined. I want to chamfer that off as well because that looks a little bit crude at the minute. So I'm going to go for chamfer, which lives under fillet. This time I'm happy enough with it just being an angle and a distance. I'm going to make that distance 2 mil. I'll press enter, and I'm just going to just come along now and just taper all that off. It should just tidy it up a little bit. Tidy up the look of it. Okay, yeah, that's helped. And that's pretty much as it is in real life too. Okay, so I think we are ready to add in some of the front details. Okay, so the first detail at the front that I'm going to add in, if we look at the pictures, I'm going to add in this detail for the lock, or for the snap, sorry. So, if we look back at the result, so it's just a bit of detail to take that snap, that red snap that attaches the lid and the base together. Okay, and we'll look at the detail that takes a padlock as well. So we're going to add in these two, the snap detail and the padlock detail. Okay. So the first one is the snap. So the detail for the snap is going to go on this face. So once you have chosen the face, put it into normal 2 view, and we'll add in the rectangle. So come along to you, meet that guy, use the center point rectangle, click on it, and just put that in like so. We'll dimension that guy up. We're going to make him
46 wide, and we're going to make it 11 from the front of the toolbox to there. Okay, so that's going to be 11. Okay, so we're going to exit that. We're going to make it through all, and we're going to accept that guy. Okay, so that's what we're left with. We're going to add in some detail for the padlock here. So we're going to do the same thing. We are going to extrude cut on that face. I'm going to go for a 3-point arc. Make sure you get this line, avoid the midpoint, this line, and just drop it like so. And we're going to give it the same dimensions that we give it, or similar dimensions to we give it to in the base. We're going to give it 70 from there to there. Give it 32. And we're going to give it 12. No, we didn't actually give it 12 in the end, didn't we? Not? I'm going to give it 8. Okay. So we're just going to join that up. Join that up. And exit sketch. And go through all again. Oops, wrong direction. Didn't mean to hit that. No. That looks okay. Alright. So we have most of the detail now that we require for the toolbox lid. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go around and we're going to add all the rounds. Okay, so we're going to go to features and we're going to add rounds. Okay, so if we go up here and pick fillet, and we're going to make the rounds about 2 mil. They're quite small, most of them. There's a couple of big ones to go in, but we're just going to add in all the small ones first. So we're going to go here and here. Actually, we'll make them 3. 3 still small enough, I think. Yeah, it's better. Go here and here. I'm going to add rounds to all of this. Okay, actually, I think we will go back to the 2 actually. 3s are a little bit big for there. Yeah, that's better. Just pick that face, add an edge. Just be careful when you're picking the edges, it can take a while to go around, get all the right ones. As you can see,
You didn't want to pick that one there, actually. That looks okay. Oh, I want to pick that one and that one also. Oh, that one doesn't work. Okay, we're just going to leave that one for now. Yeah, leave that one for now. Don't bother with that one. That looks good. So we accept that. And that looks good. So actually, I'm just going to save at this point. So file, save as. Lid. Should have saved long before this actually, guys. My mistake. Lid. And right. And we're just going to do at top of the lid. Give this 5 now. Okay. And that now looks like the lid is pretty much ready to be shelled. Okay. So we're going to go for a shell. I'm going to make the wall thickness 2 mil. Pick that face to be open and accept. Okay, so we're running into a little bit of trouble here with the shell. Okay, so I just realised I need to do a little bit of rearranging of my feature tree just before I can shell this out. The reason being, just let me explain why I have to do this, is the hinge detail is only 2 mil thick. When I try and give my lid then a 2 mil wall thickness, it doesn't know what to do with these guys because they're only 2 mil thick, okay? So it's just getting a little bit confused. That's not the end of the world. I should have left these till after I've done my thin feature, but that's not the end of the world. We can use Solidworks features to fix that mistake. Okay, so it's quite straightforward. What I want to do is, this is the first step that I've done in creating these guys. That was the extrusions. Okay, and then the next one. So all these features are all to do with, that command. So what I can do is, sorry, I keep hiding it by accident. So what I can do is I can just rearrange these down to the bottom. So to do that, so this is the last feature to do. That was the last thing that we done. That was to do with hinge detail. So I'm just going to pull everything from there down. So all these two cuts, these two guys were done afterwards. So what I want to do, and I want them to be in the shell. So what I want to do is I want to pull this guy up. So you all do the same. Pull this guy up to before that cut. Okay, so pull this cut. So just click on it, click, hold, and drag it up to the same place to above that extrude cut, or extrude thin, sorry. And do the same with the fillets. And that's us now. So that doesn't look like we've done anything, doesn't change anything at all. But what it does change is it means that I can pull this bar up now to above that extrude cut, and that means that for now our hinge detail is gone. It's not gone, it's just suppressed, but it means that I can go now and shell my feature. Okay, so that now is shelled, and with that little trick now our thin feature is back. Okay, so there's never any need to panic, there's never any need to go back, deleting things. Everything can be arranged and sorted out in Solidworks.
Okay.
So the last couple of details that I'm going to add in are the shelf for the lock and the snap, the bar for the snap to grapple onto for this guy. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and put that in now. So if we draw on this face, so we're going to do an extrude boss base. We're going to draw on this face. Put it into 2D mode, and what I want to do for a little while here is just turn it into a hidden line, just so I can see where my lines are. Or actually, yeah, I'm just going to what I want to do is I'm just going to draw in the 3D view, because it makes life a little bit easier. Okay, so I am on that line. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly rough in the shape that I'm trying to draw, which is a little L shape. And it's just a little detail for that red snap to grab onto it. So I'm just going to rough in cell detail. Just be careful that you're getting those yellow marks, those horizontals and verticals when you're doing this. Okay. I've actually gotten that good point. That's okay, I think. Yeah, I'll actually go with that. Okay, so let's give this dimensions now, and we're going to give that dimension off. So what we're going to do is we're going to come make that 5. From the bottom here, it's going to be 3, and that's going to be 6, this is going to be 2, and that from there to there is going to be 2. Okay, so that looks okay. So I'm going to exit that. I'm going to go for direction 1, and I'm going to make it 10 mil. And I'm going to go for direction 2, and I'm going to go up to next. Just fills in that little bit of space. So what I want to do now is I just want to reflect a guy across. So I'm going to take that guy. I'm going to mirror feature. I'm going to click on mirror the right plane. Okay, so I have that picked already. So I'm going to press accept, and now that guy is mirrored across. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw in the bar in which the snap revolves around. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to sketch on this plane. So I'm on this plane now, and I'm going to use my circle command, and I'm just going to come down here and to. So what I want to do is I want to click on that center point, click on, hold shift, and click on the center point of that line, and make them vertical. Make it one mil down the way, and make this guy 2 mil. Okay, so we exit that sketch,
Oh, sorry, I must have drawn a sketch instead of an extrude. So it's going to be a boss extrude, and it's going to be up to next. And that's where it stops at the next K it meets. Okay, so that now is the detail that we need in there for the snap to revolve around. The second last thing that we're going to add in is a little shelf for the lock. So the shelf for the lock is going to be so we're going to start with a boss extrude for that shelf, drawn on that bottom plane here, and we will put it into 2D mode. Now, what I just want to do is I want to offset entities. I want to pick this, this, and this. Now you see that I want to change this distance to 0.5. So now that starts to look a little more sensible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, I'm going to accept that first, and then I'm going to take my line tool. I'm just going to draw from here to this point, and I'm going to come back to my line tool to select and deselect, and I'm going to draw another one here. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my 3-point arc. Draw my 3-point arc. So start at that point at the top there, come over to here, and do that. I'm going to make this smart dimension 30, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to make that guy 6, and I'm going to make it a diameter 4. Okay, and I'm going to exit that, and I'm going to send it a different direction and make it 2 mil. Okay. So that now looks good. So the very, very last detail that I'm going to add in is these little catches here that catch this clear top lid. Okay, so this tiny lid that goes over everything. So I just want to add in those guys that catch that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to, oh, I didn't mean to do that. So I'm going to draw on this bottom face again. So I'll just make it clear. I'll draw on that face and put it into 2D mode, and I'm just going to draw with our corner rectangle. Make sure you click on the line and dimension it as 35. Make that 11 and make that 3 mil. Press OK and escape. Go 3 mil. Change the direction. Okay, and now there's that little guy that's going to snap over. So what we just want to do is we just want to round the underside of that just to give it. So 5 is far too much. We just want to round it by 1 mil.
just to let that snap over it a little bit better. Okay. Actually, I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit that fillet. And I'm going to do that side of it as well, actually. Yeah, that's better. That's much better. So now it's a little bit more refined. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reflect these two guys across to make it over the side as well. So I'm going to mirror. I'm going to pick my mirror plane, so I'm going to drop down my feature tree. My mirror plane is going to be the right plane. And my features to mirror are going to be both this guy and the fillet as well. And I want the fillet to be in there too. And I press OK. And now that is put across. So that now is our lid finished. The very last thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to add on the colour to make it look a little bit more like our part in real life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Appearances, and I'm going to go to Plastic, Soft Touch Plastic, and I'm going to go for a dark grey. Click and drag it, click, hold and drag, drop it onto the body, and we're going to go for the lid. Okay, and now that is our finished part. So if we flick back to our photo again, we have a part that looks very much like the real thing. Okay, so we're just going to save that now, and I'll see you in the next video, and we will do the clear lid that's on the top. Okay.